I come across a lot of people who want to write, feel a little stuck, don't know where to start. And I always say, just start. Just start writing. It doesn't have to be uh, proofread. It doesn't have to be grammatically correct. It doesn't have to be literature level prose. It just has to be words on paper. And once you just start putting it out on paper, you'll get to a point where you'll look at what you have and it'll start to make sense to you. It'll start to make sense to you what needs to happen next, what you need to do. Stephen King often said that you have to write with the door closed. And what that means is write as if nobody's reading it. Do not write with the sense that what are people going to think? What's somebody going to think about this line, this paragraph, this chapter? And it's natural. We all want validation. We all want to get it right. You know, we care about what certain people in our lives think. And sometimes as a writer, what you start doing is you write a chapter, you send it to somebody, you get their feedback, and you keep this process. And what it does is it slows you down and it takes you off course. I believe that you need to write, put it all down on paper, and then once you are done, then give it a little time, step away from it, come back and read it with fresh eyes, and you'll be surprised how much that distance gives you some clarity about what you should be doing next. And then after you do a couple of drafts like that, then you are ready to, as Stephen King says, write with the door open, which means you can share it with other people and get their feedback. Another thing I would say is, when you are sharing and you're asking people to critique, edit, give you feedback, be mindful about what kind of feedback you want. I mean, there is the creative process feedback, and then there is the grammar feedback. And those are two different things. And it's difficult for one person to be able to do both simultaneously. So I would recommend that the first is obviously the plot, because if the plot is wrong or there are holes or there are things that you need to change, the grammar is not going to matter. That's going to be pretty much your last step after you have already determined that this is a story you want to tell, and you have all of those T's crossed and those I's dotted. So what you want to do is to tell somebody, hey, this is the story. This is what I'm trying to get across. These are the characters, and just give them a little bit of a framework, some background, so that they can have some context for what it is that you want from them, and allow them to read it. Do not harass them and ask them what part they're up to, what do they think, all of that. Just let them just go through the book at their own time, and let them give you honest, raw feedback, because that's the way it's going to get better. And also, you want to think about picking somebody who is part of your core audience. You know, my mom and my aunt and other people in my family absolutely adored my books. And not to say that they're not good, but these people adore me. So they are going to be a little bit biased. You want to find people who are similar to the audience that you're trying to reach, people who are in your demographic, who read the genre that you are writing in, because they are going to be a true sample of what the audience is going to think when the book is actually out in the public. So you want to ask those folks. So if you are writing historical fiction, you want to ask people who read historical fiction, because if you have somebody who was really into self-help books or into mystery or who are into fantasy, they're not going to be in a place to really give you the type of feedback you need, because it's not the type of books that they read. Now, that's somebody who might be able to review it from a grammatical point of view, but they may not get what it is that you're saying. They may not be picking up what you're putting down. So you just want to be mindful about the people that you do ask to read your book once you are ready to write with the door open. Another thing I would say is, be true to yourself. You know, there's a fine line when it comes to creativity and when it comes to art. It's all so subjective. How many of us have looked at a piece of art and we don't see what everybody else sees, or we don't see why it's so expensive? And, movies, books, all of this, these are all extremely subjective things. And that's why writing is such a journey, because it is so close to your heart. It becomes your child. A book, like I said, it can take months, it can take years to write. So it becomes this journey. It becomes a child of yours, and nobody wants to hear that their kid is ugly. So it it's hard to separate yourself from it. So that's a whole nother topic, but just be mindful about the folks that you do ask to read your book before it goes out into the masses. There are no hard and fast rules. There are many books out there that can give you tips on technique and things to think about, and I do recommend that you read those. But do keep in mind that everybody's process is going to be different. And you have to allow yourself to do it the way that feels comfortable for you. And if you find later that that doesn't work for you, maybe you've done a book and you've written in a certain way and you didn't get the final result you wanted, then maybe it's time to revisit your process. But there really are no hard and fast rules. So I do recommend maybe you try a couple of different ways and see what works for you, see which one gives you the best results. And then again, it's a journey. So you learn something new, you try something new, you talk to other writers, other authors, just be in the industry, talk to people, read books, and by reading other people's books, now I'm not saying copy it, nobody wants that, but when you read other people's books, it gives you a sense of structure and the formula that works. It's not enough to just throw a bunch of words on a page. There is a formula to this, so you do have to think about, a protagonist and an antagonist, supporting characters, a storyline. There is some science to this, so you also want to make sure that you pay attention to what the formula is, because the formula is a formula for a reason. It has produced successful results for people, and if you want to be successful, sometimes you have to look and see what's been done and then try to incorporate some of that into the way that you work. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe.